Rivas, who's a fashion major, who was a fashion major. She graduated. And on the right, we have Olivia Foss, who was glass and industrial design, doing all of this work on coral reefs. Anyway, so this year, we're following in the same vein, although we have consolidated it down to one day. But it's going to be this huge convergence in our big open atrium area. The theme is material mapping, so we're shifting focus a little bit on like finding and identifying resources across campus for shared materials, as well as use and reuse. So like what does one department have that another department could make use of instead of it just being considered waste? And having this sort of material swap and teaching event going on in the DMC atrium all day. We're also going to have we're going to do student presentations again, and we're also going to do faculty and staff presentations because that seemed to be really exciting and successful. So that's what we've been up to. I can unshare my screen because I really hate staring into the void, but I'm happy to go back to any of those slides or answer any questions. Um, and of course, and because I have to run here in just a few minutes, obviously, if anybody has any questions, reach out. I'm happy to help or advise if I can. I don't know that we know what we're doing, but we have a lot of fun doing it.
Okay, Brian, go ahead.
Uh,
That was
Comment
great,
question.
Margie. Thank you. Yeah,
Uh,
go ahead, Brian.
Comment is, Margiane, this is terrific. I'm so excited to see this. It's really great. Question is, how did you fund all of this?
Um, so we have done most of this with actually very little funding. Academic Affairs has helped us out with like promotional materials and a little bit of money for refreshments at certain events where we're trying to actually entice people to come. But that's kind of it. Right. Last year we had a little bit of funding because we joined forces with our sustainability minor, and they actually have a budget that they were willing to help us with. But again, we're talking about hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. So we're really trying to promote working with what we have here on campus as far as resources. We're not asking people to spend money out of pocket, and then, begging for a little bit of cash for pizza for the students, right? I got, like the students that did snapshot presentations, I got them t-shirts from the president's office, that kind of stuff, right? But we're really doing it pretty pretty state school poor here, which is good.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm,
my colleague and friend Mitch Thomashaw, former president of Unity College in Maine, uses the term frugal sustainability.
That's right.
It's about using this, and so yeah, so Margie's presentation is Massachusetts College of Art and Design,
Yeah,
nicknamed
and like none
MassArt.
of us, the people coordinating it, we're not getting paid to do this. We're sitting on a governance committee, which is part of our contract, right? And this is an initiative that we as a committee voted to take on, and so we administer it, right? It's one of the biggest things that we do in the academic year.
Go ahead, Meg.
Oops. Um, I was curious about you talked about the open call to really like open it up to everyone. Do you have a medium that worked the best for you? And it was like social media, email, anything like that? Just because I really want to work on that as well, just like getting to people, especially students, and letting them know this is happening.
Yeah, so I don't have a slam dunk answer for you there. So we do send out an email, and I don't send it out personally. I send it out through academic affairs, right? So it's a little bit more legitimate. Um, but as we all know, students especially don't necessarily read their email. We do post on social, but like I don't have control of that content, right? So like if I want to post something at Mass Art Boston, I have to send it to Marcom, blah blah blah. One of the most effective things that we found is that I have announcements made on like opening day, right? So like where I'm going right when I leave this call, the provost is actually going to even though the email save the date already went out, the provost is going to announce it and get people hyped up for it. And the first year I think was the hardest, right? Like as soon as you build a little bit momentum, then people are almost expecting it and they know who to reach out to, right? So, we've done stuff like gotten stickers printed and stuff like that. So again, like at least like even if it's last year's sticker, but somebody sees it on their water bottle, they're going to remember like, oh yeah, the teach-in happens in April. Maybe I should get in touch with Jane or Margie or whoever. But it's while I say that it's been an open call and we have gotten content from that open call, we have had to supplement that with reaching out to people that we know and saying, hey, I would really love it if you would contribute this, but then find some students to do it with you, right? So we're still trying to be really inclusive. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll point out that Meg is a student and that University of Nebraska Lincoln, in their participation with us, each year has had a student who has been empowered with organizing the event. And I think, for those of you who are faculty members, that student power is amazing,
Mhm.
and that if you give students an opportunity and a little bit of support, it goes a really long way.
Yeah. We also have done stuff where what's the carrot kind of thing. So the 2023 teach-in, I guess, the first one I ran, we actually told people from the get-go that we were going to run an exhibition in the fall uh, based on work that was either presented or generated through the teach-in, which is really nice. So like, especially for students, but even for faculty and staff, like, oh, like if I do this workshop during the teach-in, like I get an exhibition out of it kind of thing, which is always something that we're looking for putting on our CV. And same with the students doing presentations, right? Like I take any opportunity to remind students what's going to look really good on their CV, right? Because they're really trying to build that history. So doing a, snapshot presentation, like it's 5 minutes of your life, but it looks really great on the CV kind of thing. So a lot of it is just sort of word of mouth and hyping people and getting to the right people. But now I think we have momentum, so it just keeps getting bigger.
Well, thank you, Margie. I know you need to run to your opening, so but yeah, this is fabulous. I think we obviously when you get artists together, there's tons of creativity and great energy, and I've been able to participate virtually in a couple of the events, and actually it was in part it was Mass Art sort of moving to a week long activities that motivated us to say let's call it Climate and Justice Education Week, and whether it's a full week of activities or a um, or an activity during a week, that the important thing is to be participating and to engage your community. So thanks very
I guess
much, Margie.
you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. And I'm going to be back this evening too, if anybody like has questions, right? I'm coming back later. Or reach out, please. I'm happy to help if I can. Um, the last thing I'll say that, and I don't know if I made this clear enough, is that the biggest selling point that I've used is that this does not have to be additional work, right? If you're a student or a faculty member and you have to teach a class or be in a class that week, all you have to do is say, I'm going to give my presentation on permaculture, right? Somebody used that earlier, during this week. Like that's all you have to do. And then you participated, right? So we definitely have had people contribute way more than that, right? I mean, I spend months planning this and people are doing whole day workshops and stuff, but if you can make it really easy and attainable and say just like if you're planning your semester and you have any sustainability content, put it that week. Done. You're not doing anything more than you would be doing. So I like to play to the laziness sometimes. Anyway, I'm gonna run. Thank you all very much. I hope that I helped, and
Yeah,
I
that was
wish you all the best.
very inspiring.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So I think that Margie's presentation is just a great example of what can be done with, as she says, not a whole lot of money, but a lot of energy and enthusiasm. One of the key things, really, with Worldwide Climate and Justice Education Week is that we're just the inviters. You're the organizers. We create this thing that we call a set of events, but um, other than my partner Eben Goodstein does organize something at Bard, but otherwise it's really up to you and the people at your institution to do what works best for you because you know what works. You know what your community, your students need. What we do is we provide opportunities like this to hear from each other, to share ideas. We have on our website, on our events page, there's some templates for organizing. And we're happy to share with you and talk with you and to kind of run ideas back and forth, but it has to be your thing and not our thing. So I think at this point, if you don't mind, I'm going to just ask a couple of you who have done events in previous years to give us, obviously, we don't have time for full 15-minute presentations and you didn't prepare them, but just give a couple minutes about what you've already, what you've done in other years and maybe what you're thinking about for this year. So, Chi, do you want to begin, please, and just tell us a little bit about what you've done in Taiwan, please?
Thanks, David. For the first year, we organized kind of whole campus events. So we invite government officials and to the university. And for the second year, unfortunately, it was the COVID time. So we interview 17 professors from different departments, and then we showed the films and discuss online. So that's carry on for like a documentary films, viewings and discussions online. And then for last year, we reach out to the community. So we organized three events. One in the kind of National Science Museums. We discuss. We students organize like nine panels for 9 topics, posters on the clean energies, and discuss with the public. And one in indigenous tribes and communities. And then after the events, we with our posters were like on the community corners, like the eateries. So people visit the communities can also so it's like a carry on the posters. I learned so in previous years there's workshops on making posters, which I found quite useful for me to help students to kind of after their teachings, still the knowledge can be spread out through the posters. So students feel achieved, and also we receive kind of responses from the community peoples. So that's mainly the kind of quick the summaries of the events we done. And for this year, we were still thinking about the new forms, but still I found reaching out to the community, the teaching in and teaching out. Maybe we'll organize 2 events. So still organizing. Thank you.
Oh, that sounds great. And I love diversity of activities and the fact that you are not just within um, um, Sun Yat-sen National University, but also reaching out to the community where you are. So that's great. And I should say that with events that obviously during the COVID time, everything was virtual. We actually began our this project began with the idea that there would be a in 2020, March 2020, which you may remember was kind of a fraught time, with holding in every US state and in a few countries one um, online panel to identify priorities for climate action for that particular state or nation. And the idea was that they would then be um, webcast out to other campuses in the state who could then gather and talk about it. And so, in a sense, we were pre-adapted to 3 weeks later to switch into a full virtual mode. So almost all of those panels took place. Now, most everything is in person, but Jane, I know you just got on, but if you don't mind, we also have had continued virtual activities um, through some of our partner organizations. And Jane, if you don't mind, maybe introducing yourself and just give us a sort of a quick summary of the virtual event that Climate Diet did last year.
Sure. This is Jane DeMarinis with Climate Diet, and we did a webinar with two partners. We're focused on the impact of food on your health, but more particularly the climate, as our name indicates. And we had the executive director of a partner organization from Phoenix, Dr. Salish Rayo, who is sort of a well-known, I don't know what you call it. He's done these debates in the UK and he's won them. So there's been a lot of activity in veganism and plant-based eating in the United Kingdom, and he debated people and won these debates in the United Kingdom. So he's sort of a celebrity, maybe more so in the UK. He's a partner out of Phoenix, and their other partner was local, although they're up in Ithaca with BARD, Farm Animal Rights Movement, and they talked about the animal cruelty aspects of climate and the food process. But I think we had nearly 100 people attend, and we were really thrilled, David, to be a part of your organization because we know a lot of those were students, and the biggest group interested in, according to research, interested in sort of climate, and there's a lot of anxiety around this, and you're probably aware of it among young people. So we really want to, and using your slogan, don't despair, take action, or whatever your slogan you've been using is perfect. There are things that you can do, and one of them is eat less meat. So we're really happy to be a part of this group, and we're actually working now on a webinar for this year. And I had a question for you, David. Can we do more than one, or I'm not even sure? Okay, because we have a couple.
Yeah, but Jane, I think you also didn't mention what attracted most people to the event was Erin and her demonstration. So maybe you want to say something about that too.
I think you're right. So my daughter is a vegan businesswoman in Tampa, Florida, and has some just really one vegan product. But she is I don't know if you actually call her an influencer, but she's sort of more well known, I think, in her own network in Florida. But she does a lot of cooking shows with like Bloom TV and some networks, and I think some are local. But so we called it Cooking for the Climate. I think we named it, and people were definitely interested in seeing a demo on some plant-based eating. I'm not sure what she cooked up, but she's an accomplished vegan cook, plant-based cook.
Yeah, so the climate diet event not only had the speakers, but what really drew people in was having this vegan cooking demonstration that Aaron did, and that I think shows kind of a nice way to use the hybrid aspects to well, in this case, it was all virtual, but yeah, thank you, Jane. I want to give I know we're getting towards the top of the hour, but Eunice, are you able to unmute and talk about the climate week that you and your team organized at the Kakuma refugees community? Eunice, are you able to unmute?
Yes,
Yes,
you ask me or you ask Juniors.
Yeah.
yes, I'm in
Yeah.
position. I can speak.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, for those people who have joined maybe recently, I'm Yunias Abdurrahman Suleiman, resident of Kakuma refugee camp, that is Kenya. So I will briefly brief you about what happened last year. Of course, we also did a great job according to our side. Maybe you can judge from your side or from your end. So we trained, of course, we trained 201 participants. Those are the children that we trained them during that time, starting from date 1 up to date 7. And that is 1 week. Of course, it was a great job. It is like this is the first project for us to implement, and the people are very excited about it. Of course, the time when we came in, of course, the first thing that we did, we engaged the community structures so that they should understand that what we are here for and our mission and the vision as engaging the kids. We have been given a permission to go ahead with the project, and we have implemented it successfully. Different topics. The first topic, it was launching. Of course, we launched it during the day 1, whereby we invite the community leaders, securities, and the block leaders, so that they should understand what we are in the community for, so that they should not misunderstand us. Then day 2, we discussed about a climate science workshop. Of course, this is what we did with the children. And then in day 3, of course, we did art climate justice. And then in day 4, of course, we did reporting on a community dialogue and a film screening. There is a video, maybe I can also share the link in the chat if you wanted to see. And at the end, of course, we have also ongoing actions that currently we're implementing it. I have 10 women's that our participant last year. Currently, they are continuing with the same thing as I'm speaking to you. Maybe I can share with David pictures if that is so much important. So that is one. And then number 2, of course, we have created a WhatsApp group whereby we share things related to climate. We educate the people through social media. So that is one of the things that we did. And then, of course, a recommendation now from the participants that we have been given. They have said that that one should not be our last. We should participate. We should participate there. This year, we have planned also, of course, to train them on waste management, and then a provision of they have also requested things to do with the renewable energy sources, such as like solar cookers and And then, of course, but I, of course, tell them that I'm not in position to do that, but I can train you over it. And then we will see with the collaboration of the people. Maybe people are interested in this project. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I mean, it's really impressive. And last year, when we had some funds, which unfortunately we don't have now, we provided a small grant to Unius and his team, and they, as he said, organized this week-long event with everybody ranging from children to community elders, and not just education and training, but really then moving into action and implementation. Um, Alec, would you share? I know you've done so much with Team Philippines, but maybe give us a little bit of a summary of some of the things that you and Faith and some of your other partners from Team Philippines have done, please.
Hello, Dr. David. So, thank you for that. In the past 2 years, we have been very active in terms of engaging different universities and schools. So, of course, we have been consistent with the University of the Philippines, Open University, having teach in online webinars, having webinars about uh, sustainability and climate justice. But what I wanted to highlight maybe is an event like this. We've had a webinar where it was attended by, uh, it's a nationwide webinar open for all teachers where we introduced how to make climate a class. And apparently, even though we are surprised that even though it is a very simple matter, integrating the talks of climate to, let's say, natural sciences, that talks about the subject of social sciences, and even in values, they gained a lot of insights and they asked many questions as to how, because they are really willing to integrate this, the topic of climate justice to their classes. So that's one way we encouraged the participation. And as I remember, we there has been teach-ins around, even after the climate education week. Because of that, it has a trickle down effect, the domino effect. Also, of course, through the efforts of um, Tony, Tony Suzuki Lagan, no? We've had another teach-in. We also able to reach Japan, and of course, introduce a localized resource website on climate, which I recommend also for others because it also has international resources, called the Klima Papel. I believe Dr. David here is familiar with that. And we are still promoting that and using that as much as we can. So this year in our preparations, we are focusing on very pressing topics on climate justice. So our leader, she was not able to join here, on climate justice, sets its focus on climate mitigation, specifically the transition to renewable energy, the not just the transition, the just transition, the proper way of transitioning to renewable energy, because it's a very pressing issue here in the Philippines. There have been there have been movements of transition, like switching public transportation to electric vehicles, but in the end, it is not just. No, it compromises. It raises a lot of human rights violations and all that. So I wanted also to incorporate that, and focus that. And we are also introducing the concept of rights of nature, if you are familiar with that. Uh, so kind of also jiving and harmonizing with biodiversity, the rights of nature. We have a bill on rights of nature in the Philippines, and we aim to put that into the discussions of climate justice in order for that to be passed on as a law. So those are just some of our plans for the incoming climate education week. Thank you, Dr. David.
Yeah, thank you, Alec. And they've had at least 30 different events in the Philippines over the years that we've been working with them. And I very much like this idea of the webinar to train teachers to make climate a class. That is sort of the other sort of, in addition to making climate an event, this making climate a class to encourage every educator to incorporate climate justice, climate solutions into their teaching. And actually, next week's webinar, we're going to be talking more specifically about how to make climate a class, how to convince your colleagues to incorporate at least some climate content into the teaching that they do. So we've had a lot of great ideas here, a lot of examples, and I mean you can just see the diversity of approaches. I will follow up with everybody who registered for this, and if you didn't register but just got the link, maybe put your email in the chat so I can make sure to follow up with you. I will send you a copy of the recording, and I'll see if I can get Margie's presentation and background in terms of what you've been able to do. And Eunice has just put a YouTube video into the chat for us as well. So any as we're leaving, and certainly if people do want to stay on beyond the top of the hour, I'm available to do that. But are there any questions or comments from people who haven't had a chance to share yet? Yeah, go ahead, Desiree.
Thank you very much again. Climate justice is a very interesting topic for me, who am born a refugee in Rwanda, who am an African. In general, we know that climate change makes many negative impacts for Africans. I have obligation to participate to this event to prevent negative impact of climate change. Here in Rwanda Mama refugee camp in Rwanda, where I am now, there has been a good project to make refugee camp green. There are trees which help us to have good oxygen, and it helps us to build a good health. For climate justice, I think that today it is very important to continue such virtual conferences. I thank you very much for this great initiative to promote climate protection, good climate protection. I often watch videos on YouTube channel in USA today, California, Los Angeles. I never go there, but we see the very negative impact of climate change, where many persons are obliged to flee their homeland just to find a very secure area to live. This is in USA. In Africa, in Burundi, in Rwanda, in East Africa, sometimes you cultivate today, but it is unfortunately difficult to find result. When it is not running, it is not running. When there is no water, you cannot find result. You cultivate after 3-4 months, you cannot receive result. So this initiative is very important to share ideas, how to share skills about bad impact of climate change. I'm very happy to meet this session, and I think that those ideas given by some participants here will help me and will help others to protect our planet. I lead a refugee-led organization, DéNouTa, JuMePro, DéNouTa Think Tank, découverte de nouveaux talents in English. It means talent discovery group, which means we think and we try to give solutions to the existing problems in refugees, in refugee community, and also we try for JuMePro, which stands by justice by mediation program. We try to resolve problems using mediation, because for us it is not necessary to go to court. When you go to court, you create something which is not good. You create something which is like you are enemy, I am enemy of you, you are enemy of me. When you go to court sometimes, or in many situations, it creates a bad situation. So we try first to think about our existing problems, and we try to give solutions. The second, we try to make mediation in refugee situation, in refugee community, to build peace using peaceful means, which are mediation, tolerance, dialogue within our different races, our different ethnicities, our different nationalities. Here in Rwanda, there are many refugees from different of nationalities, from Burundi, from DRC, from Sudanese, from South Sudanese, Afghanistan. So I'm very happy to join this session for me, because it helped me. I thank you.
We thank you, and I think, I mean, this is a great example that, for many of us, that this concept of climate justice is an academic concept, but for you and many others in the African continent, which is a continent that collectively contributes less than 4% of the greenhouse gases, and almost all of that is from South Africa and Nigeria, but yet is bearing the brunt of climate change. I mean, that is really the definition of climate justice. And so for those of us in the US and elsewhere, we um, might think about in any events or things that you're organizing to maybe invite Desiree and Eunice and others to participate virtually and to help your students to really see um, what climate justice looks like. So thank you. Brian, go ahead.
Just a quick question for all of you. This Friday, I'm addressing a bunch of American university, college, and university presidents, and I'm going to be haranguing them about taking climate action. And I'm just wondering first if I can mention the efforts that you guys are all doing as examples of existing climate work on campuses, but also if any of you have any advice or recommendations for me. Richard immediately flung up a hand.
Go ahead, Richard. And you need to unmute.
Yeah, but so actually I'll put a couple links in the chat. I'm not sure which universities you'll be speaking to, but the most effective thing anywhere right now, but on campuses especially, is public deliberation. So a student citizens assembly, it should be happening this year on every campus, but especially at the top schools, because they're really driving our economy, right? Like it's a very concentrated economy. So there's no accountability, right? I mean, I'll finish here because you can look at the links, but basically students leave and enter careers, and the careers reiterate the economy that we have, which is not decarbonizing. So it's like everybody knows this, but they can't do anything about it, right? But if you can intercept that process when the students are actually in the same room and they can look each other in the eye, you have a little bit better opportunity to open them up to the scale of how much the economy needs to change, which means that downstream from that, they're already oriented because they've confronted it, and that's basically what's not happening. I mean, it's why we're on this call together, right? But the thing is, the amount of traction on a campus is tiny. Bard may be better, but we've had over 100 interns, 140 or so, including from a lot of the Ivies and pretty much every school on the East Coast. The student engagement's like 3% on a campus. And it's not because they don't know about climate change, right? Like they all know who Greta Thunberg is. It's because there's no deliberation, there's no engagement, social engagement. So the easiest thing to do is to try to tune it out. So anyway, that's what a university president could do. It's not so much about going through the steps of a class. I mean, that's going to be good, but it's the deliberation, student to student. And I'll put links to the chat because we actually did one on a small scale, and other people have proposed this because it's a no-brainer. And university presidents, if they actually do want to do something, that's the easiest, quickest path.
Easy and quick, easy and cheap. That's definitely going to appeal. to your question, this is the American Association of Colleges and Universities. So it's institutions that have a focus on undergraduate learning. So a lot of state universities, a lot of liberal arts colleges, some West Point, some research ones. It's a real mix. I love this idea. I love this idea very much. I've been in rooms like that where some of these conversations have happened, where students starting PhD work say, "Oh, wait a minute, is my PhD work actually going to worsen the world based on this?" And thinking, of course, about the Ivies, where so many of the students go on to work in high finance. And a question I'm putting to everybody is, to what extent are your campuses going to have a reckoning about your role in contributing to the climate crisis? How many petroleum engineers did you graduate, right? How many graduates
Yeah,
went on to, yeah, please.
I'm just going to interject one thing to support what Brian is saying. In 2007, 58% of the male Harvard undergrads went into one industry, which you can guess,
Yeah,
but finance. So close to, more than half. If you had roommates, if you had a four-person, five people in a room, three of them were going into finance, right? So uh in the banks in the US have just pulled out of the global climate,
yeah,
the global alliance for global financial alliance on net zero, right?
yeah,
That's those graduates, right?
yeah.
So, we know who, we know how the system works. You can actually look at the web pages for career out of universities. And it's a mistake to be arguing with that system downstream, which is what we are now, rather than just, they no undergraduate's going to say, yes, I want the planet to turn into a burning wreckage, right? Most of them. There's going to be a few who might be okay with it, but the proportion is way on your side at that point. You wait 20 or 30 years and you've lost it, right? So like those Harvard grads, we've lost those guys, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And that's what I would say. So, I mean, we have to do it on every level. And ideally, you get the undergrads also and recent graduates to speak back into those industries. But the big point is that right now there's no mechanism, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's no. It's interesting to think about how we've lost that generation of students. It's interesting parallel to think about them as well as all the CO2 and methane already baked into the atmosphere, right? This is but how many, how many of those graduates are going to go on and work for Goldman Sachs and become donors for their universities? And, will they be in a position to say stop climate action on campus, or will they, have a change of heart and move against it? My pitch to these presidents and provosts is that they need to be thinking about this reckoning ahead of time, right about now. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say one brief thing to that point. I think it's very hard for a trustee of a university to block a democracy event, right? To block an assembly, a
Yeah,
student assembly,
yeah,
because what's your case? I don't want the students to talk to each other. I don't, so you know what I'm saying? I think
yeah.
it's a good path.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you. And thank you for the link.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I'm gonna also, I'll send you and include with everybody the other video that we have is again, about a 3-minute video of students, international students from our worldwide social media internship that we did a few years ago. Alec participated in that, um, on sort of a critique of the academic system and in the context of climate change and a call for educators to make climate a class. And so I guess that would be another thing that I would encourage um, the the presidents to provide leadership to um, get their faculty members to at least for at least for a day to show the connection between what they are teaching at the what they're teaching in their subject matter, whether it's language or arts or humanities or engineering, to show them the connection between that and the climate crisis, and even in finance, to show the role of finance in driving a lot of the issues, with the idea that with every topic, with every subject matter, um, you can make a difference in your own professional career. So anyway, I'll send you some of that, and um, I'll put the link for the Climate Education Week as well. So I also put in the chat that um, the as you do decide on your participation this week for Climate Justice Education Week, to please do register so that you can get your dot on the map, like behind me from a couple years ago. And there's a video on how to actually register and to edit your event, so to be on there and participate. So take a look at that as well. So I know we're well past the hour here, but I think this has been a great exchange here at the end as well. Are there any other questions or things that people want to share at this point?
David, I'd just like to make one comment. I was interested certainly in what Brian had to say and Richard's comments on that. But no matter what career people take, even if they're probably 3 meals a day, and in their personal lives, people can eat less meat, and it makes a huge impact on the climate, even 1 day a week if people eat less meat. We've done some tallies on this, and if the population of the United States gave up meat for 1 day a week for 1 year, it's equal to taking 25 million gas-powered cars off the road. So it's not an insignificant amount. And the methane, of course, that is emitted by animals, cows especially, stays in the atmosphere and is 80 times as potent as carbon dioxide. So I'd just like to mention that, even though people have careers that might be not so climate friendly, their personal lives, they could still make a contribution. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. And yeah, and I think we will be just in wrapping up here, in future webinars, we'll be doing these, and tonight we'll actually have Margie and one of her colleagues are going to talk again about the mass art. We also have somebody from University of Kansas, and I put the link into their a news article about their climate events a couple years ago, or actually last year. And then the next week we're going to talk more about Make Climate a Class. The week of April, or of February 4th, Richard and some others who have designed games to teach about climate change and climate solutions are going to talk about games that you can play individually and with your students. The week of on Tuesday, February 11th, we're going to have two groups that have curricular resources troves of vetted curricular resources that educators at all levels can use. The Clean Network and Subject to Climate, we'll talk about their collection. And then on the 18th, going back to Jane's comment, Mike Hoffman from Cornell, emeritus faculty, is going to talk about using food as a way of educating about climate change. And we'll have more webinars as we go forward. Definitely something about climate emotions, climate anxiety, um, and that, and some other things to help you to prepare for your participation. So thanks everybody for being with us today. Thanks for staying on extra. And thank you all for your work in educating others about the climate crisis and the fact that there are solutions to move to move very quickly to a just transition, as Desiree told us. So that ends the formal presentation. I'm going to stop the recording now. And if anybody wants to stay on and ask me or tell me anything, we can continue with that.
Yeah. I just wanted to say two really quick things to Jane's comment. The past year, I've been working with a lot of higher education food service companies and organizations. They are all very, very pro plant-based diets. You can see it in their brochures and their images, which are almost entirely vegan. You know, they don't show a sizzling steak, but they show fruit and vegetables. But they're also ready for campuses to push a more plant-based diet. The second thing is I just wanted to thank David. Thank you so much for hosting us and for all this great organization. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a pleasure. I mean, we couldn't do anything without the creativity and energy of each of you. So thank you. It's our pleasure.
Thank you.
Be well, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
Doc, may I ask something?
Of course.
I think I'm not sure if it's more of personal because as a young climate advocate, I think about climate actions a lot because there are sometimes like in my own home, we're quite a big family and I've been wanting to implement permaculture at our home, but I've been facing like those kind of structural challenges such as uh, income and the priorities of the family, and I'm like have difficulty enforcing these things in my personal life. And like I'm like moving forward, I struggle to think about how can I implement this because like I think maybe I'm just young, maybe I'm just anxious about being a hypocrite about this. So as someone who's been doing this for years now, um, what do you have like advice for me and my fellow youth? Because I have met a lot of young people that are passionate about climate change. But like when it comes to like changing people's minds on how they or like making them adapt more to a sustainable lifestyle, how do I go about that? Because I I really believe to just like make it systemic. It's the so that everyone can make the easier choice. But people like I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, you can't make change in the Philippines because the system is, you know, backwards or something like that." So, do you have any advice for me on like how I can make change, how I can help people change their minds, and like how I can maintain that strength to like keep going back to climate advocacy despite everything?
That's a big question, Faith. That's wow. I think you just in the 4 years that I've known you through our project, you've demonstrated your commitment and the fact that um, you know even if you've got challenges with your colleagues and your family, that you're not going to be deterred to do this. And so I think part of the answer is what you're already doing. Um, uh, um, Richard is going to share a paper as well, but um, I think we have to sort of look into say what is our role in the world, and we can, we have to be responsible for ourselves, and so that begins with the kinds of things that you're talking about with you and your family, and to give them examples, to show them that maybe start in a small way of um, growing certain foods, planting certain plants on your property. Um, and then I think obviously you need to have the reinforcement and to talk to other young people like yourselves and others who've been involved in Team Philippines, and to find what others are doing and kind of reinforce yourself that way. And then finally, I'll just quote a talk that my late father gave with the title of A Majority of One. The idea that, we have to be responsible to ourselves, and whatever we do really can influence others. So I don't know, Richard, did you want to add anything to that?
Am I muted? No. I'm going to share this paper. I'll just put it in the link. It's a Springer. It's recently published. So let me just find the right link for you. But yeah, okay. So we've been following this continuously because it's a constant question, right? Um, I think in the big picture, the public deliberation method is the best thing for a society because everybody can look at the same question at the same time. On a personal level, this research, and I'll share others with David, and he can share it with everybody. Um, it's usually multiple levels. People uh, like role models. Like if they see someone change their mind, it makes them open to that. If they've gotten out of an ideological, one community and they're going into another. So there's a lot of different like moving parts because people are complicated. Um, it is super hard to people are uncomfortable associating their own behavior and I think the thing is on a practical level, like for us overall, the important thing is look at the big levers, which is why when we're talking about universities, if you can establish it, that you're part of society, that's a huge jump as opposed to just someone who needs a career, right? So like, is your identity your career or are you also part of society? Thinking about that a lot after the inauguration of Trump, because that was basically, driven by ideology that there is no society, sort of a cynical view on the part of the people really behind him. Um, but then, if you're just talking to your family, the biggest things you can change, just start changing those, I think. And make it feel normal. I'm sorry, that Yeah, no magic bullet, but I will share with you, I'll share with David some of the research we see that stands out. Um, it's in the Philippines, people have a much smaller footprint. So I think it's not in terms of justice, it's really for the people on this call that are in the US to focus on because the US is doing the damage. You're nodding and yeah, I mean it's crazy to ask people in other parts of the world because the US is so overwhelmingly disproportionate. And, you know, to be blunt, it's well-educated Americans because well-educated Americans have more money. So the surest sign, this is the last thing I'll say in this, if you want to find someone with a big carbon footprint, look for people with diplomas from universities that lead on climate science because it's going to be the same group. So that's the paradox. The universities that have studied climate for 60 years are, the world's top universities, and their graduates are the world's top emitters. Uh, so obviously that would be a good place to try to things, uh, square things up. Anyway, it's the end of my story there.
Yeah, no, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, the irony, I mean, Richard, you and I are the only people from the over-consuming world who are left on the call here. And, we have these amazing young people who want to and are doing things in their community. But I guess part of the answer is that you get a better quality of life. And so even if you're in a place where you and your community are contributing almost nothing to um, the global climate crisis, that by adopting more sustainable practices, as Eunice was talking about in terms of solar cookers instead of burning firewood and charcoal, that you're improving your own health as well as the health of the planet. So, these are win-win situations. And yeah, thank you for your note, Shushti. And yes, please do connect by email. And this is really for everybody here. Faith, if you want to set a time to have a more direct conversation, send me an email. And even with the time differences, that we'll figure out a time to talk. And that's the same for anybody here. I mean, what motivates me in this project is the opportunity to meet and to collaborate with each of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we could keep on talking for a long time, but I actually need to do a couple of things here and get ready for another meeting in a few minutes. So thank you all, and we will. I'll follow up by email, and please join us for another of these conversations.